My God, what is that behind you?
Oh, that's a good question. I did it on purpose.
That's great.
Behind me. Oh, my chair.
It's not really there on your wall, right? Oh, yeah, okay.
And on my chair, no, behind.
Uh-huh.
Guess what it is? I did it on purpose.
On your chair?
No, behind the background.
It's the COVID, the coronavirus.
No.
Okay, wait. It's part of the cell. It's the outside of the cell.
No, but you were very close.
What is it?
It's an exosome.
Okay, I read something about this. What's an exosome?
An exosome, if you describe it, well, it's a vesicle, which is it's kind of a bag or a sac,
right,
that is inside the cell,
right,
that is inside of something that is called multivesicular body, which is another bag, and these exosomes are made of protein coating and lipid coating, and there is genetic material inside as well as toxins when it's the case.
Okay.
If you describe it, it's exactly the same thing as a virus. Okay. Exactly the same fucking thing as a virus. But the difference is ideological. The difference is people think, or scientists think, exosomes are good for health, are necessary for health, for detoxifying, and for growing and developing and specializing cells, because they get out of the first embryon cells in order to send signals and to have intercellular communication for the cells, for the stem cells become specialized.
Right.
So there are many important processes that are related to these things, and we don't think they are bad. But now I'll show you something else. What is that?
Coronavirus. Is that a virus? No?
Yes.
That's an exosome.
That's a rotavirus. That is the rotavirus that comes out of, that happens when children are sick, when they are babies.
Okay.
When babies are sick. Well, that's a picture of that. And the little details, these little things that we see that seem to be kind of cute and all that. This is just decoration. This is just the artist, interpretation. Now what is that?
Unfair. I don't know. It's
virus. HIV.
Oh, that's HIV. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it for a while.
So this is about the same thing, but cut in the middle.
Okay.
What is this? But it has the same look, the little things out, and it's just cut in the middle.
Flu virus.
No, that is an exosome.
Exosome. Okay.
Yes.
How do you tell?
Just because the sources where I got them.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
What is that?
Rhinovirus.
It's HIV.
That's HIV again.
Yes. But by the way, these things don't have these colors in real.
That looks a bit different.
Now this is, what is this?
Just a sec. That's an exosome.
No, that's finally a coronavirus.
Okay. Thanks, man. You're making me feel really smart here.
Oh, this looks better. You know, it looks more like in between the AIDS virus or the HIV and the rotavirus that has the tiny little things going out. It may have been the same artist,
Right.
but that is coronavirus.
Yay.
Yeah, finally we had it.
I thought maybe it was just.
And what is the difference between that and influenza? Let me see. Which is influenza? I saw the source that is a comparison with the influenza, but I don't remember exactly. But it's about the same thing.
Right. Okay.
So what is the difference? There's no difference. Guess that is, what is that? You know that now they are black and white pictures.
Okay. So that's exosome.
Yes, you got it.
Yeah, it looked like it came off the cell. That's why.
And that?
So that exosome was outside of the cell. It looks like it's coming off.
They go outside of the cell, and that is, what is that?
Okay, cool. I don't know what that is.
You apply the same principle, you should say the same thing.
Exosome.
That's COVID-19.
Okay.
And that, it's HIV. And the reason you see them darker is because of the kind of the photograph, the picture, because they have to slice the tissue, so they have to slice it thinner. So and that depends on the certain quality of the pictures. So what I'm saying is that all of that is the same freaking shit. Because, and that's what I will prove sometime soon, because I will read out loud all the characteristics of exosomes. Maybe I was not prepared for the call, but maybe I can do that. I will try. I will try to do that. Let me see. Oh, maybe we'll do that. Yeah, what I will do is I will share something here. Share screen. And then go here.
Okay.
So this is my practice. This is the PowerPoint made by Andrew Kaufman, in which he shows the fish market. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I see the. Yeah. It's an open air market, very similar to what I saw in Peru.
Yes.
And I've seen very similar ones in South Korea.
Yeah. Oh, I'm using the French version. Well, anyways, it's okay. Because I'm working on the French version, but
oh, there it is. Good. That's good.
Okay, so which are the things which of the following most likely cause all these people to become ill? A new genetic disease like cystic fibrosis, a new virus, an autoimmune disease, or bad food?
Well,
Food poisoning.
it looks more, you know,
What would you
I
do
think
when you see that?
the most obvious thing would be food poisoning.
And by the way, it is not the first time food poisoning is the cause. There was a food poisoning in Spain 30 years ago. And well, I'm saying food poisoning, I'm just saying it already, and I should have kept that for the end. But the thing that there were people who were having pneumonia symptoms in a city somewhere in Spain.
Yeah.
25,000 people sick. 1,000 of them died.
Wow.
And the doctors were confused because they saw the symptoms and they thought it was pneumonia, but they were not successful at treating them with antibiotics or other things. And they didn't understand what was the problem until somebody thought that the location may have something to do with their disease. And so finally, after a long research, somebody found out that all these people were clients of a supermarket, of a market, in a marketplace.
Okay.
And then finally they realized that it was food poisoning from a kind of an oil that was contaminated, that had some
rancid
stuff.
A rancid.
Something
rancid
like
oil.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what it implies is that people have respiratory problems when they are intoxicated by food poisoning or other kind of poisoning.
Right.
This is not new.
Yeah.
So
sure.
That's why if that happened already before.
You know, what I was thinking earlier was I was thinking of opioid overdose.
Mm-hmm.
Basically paralyzes the lungs.
Exactly the same thing, because at the time where the AIDS virus was in vogue, they were saying the AIDS was causing pneumonia. AIDS causing pneumonia.
Mm-hmm.
But homosexuals were not having pneumonia. Hemophiliacs were not having pneumonia. Homosexuals were having cancer of the skin, and hemophiliacs were having immune diseases, autoimmune diseases, or immune diseases, immune deficiency. So there were three different groups having three different kinds of diseases, depending on the group. Okay. Not because they were all sick from the same cause, which was the so-called virus, but because they had different habits. In the case of drug addicts, they were using drugs that caused them pneumonia.
Right.
So this is not new.
Right. Huh. Interesting.
But now we are saying lung problems are caused by lung infections. You lost your head. No, I don't see your head. That's funny. I don't know. Mm-hmm. So can we keep going with the presentation?
Let's go.
So what these Chinese people did, they determined immediately that it was viral-induced pneumonia. According to clinical symptoms, they depend on the clinical symptoms and other criteria, including body temperature rising, lymphocytes and white blood cells decreasing, and new pulmonary infiltrates, and all these things, and didn't have an obvious improvement. So after days of antibiotic treatment, They did exactly what the Spanish people did in the case I mentioned before. They did exactly the same thing. So they thought it has to be a virus.
Yep.
It appears that most of early cases had contact history with the original seafood market, by the way.
Sure. Let me ask you one question, though, before we go further.
Yes.
This idea that viruses aren't spread is completely new to me.
Yes.
Is that something that the general medical community?
No.
Right. So it's new research.
It's new. It's not new. The thing is that since people started to question the AIDS virus theory, that they said that according to the official medicine, they were saying that the HIV caused AIDS, there were many researchers going deeper into the relationship between the viruses and diseases. And they were already questioned that like for about 30 years.
Okay.
There is this Stephen Lanka that was one of these people. I don't know what he's doing right now, but he's part of the people who added information to contribute to this slideshow.
Okay.
The thing is that in my case, it's been more than 40 years since I didn't believe that microbes cause diseases. Even though I thought that maybe they may provoke the disease, depending on the conditions that we have in our bodies. If we are lacking health or whatever, we are unhealthy, we may get sick from viruses, maybe. But I didn't even think that viruses were bad in themselves, because I always question anything, any thought that is disempowering, I questions in the beginning.
Okay.
So I was not saying that a virus can make me sick unless I need to be sick. That's something else. But I was already informed. I knew already that viruses are not living beings.
Right.
So many of the things that I'm going to say are things that I believe for the last 20-something years, 25 years.
Okay.
Because I met somebody who had AIDS and was healed from AIDS, from the terminal illness. He was terminal and healed from AIDS, and through him I met other people. And then I read lots of books about that issue, about AIDS and the AIDS virus, and also the inconsistency of the PCR test, which is what is I'm going to talk about. Because the PCR test is the gold standard for testing these conditions, virus infections.
Right.
So this is something that I'm going to talk or sometime. But the person who created that PCR or RT-PCR reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction test. It's the one who created that is Kary Mullis, who died last year. He would be he's kind of jumping in his grave probably.
Sorry, what was that last?
Because he said Kary Mullis, Mullis, and he said that this kind of test that he invented was not appropriate for testing illnesses.
Okay.
But it was appropriate for many other kind of genetic material tests, such as genetic, your your past and where do you come from and your genetic background, these kind of things. Yes, many things. It has many uses, but he said it was not appropriate to determine the gravity or the seriousness of an illness.
It wasn't great. It wasn't good for diagnosing diseases.
Exactly. That's what he said.
Okay, so it was better for sort of determining sort of mechanical genetic markers
or genetic possible conditions and stuff like that. But that's more. That has to do also with the procedure and the amount of genetic material or the length of the genetic sequence that has been used to take from the sample to compare with the samples of the tests being made with the people. So there has to be a main sample, the model. I don't remember how to call it, but this is the model. And then these are the tests people do, and they have to compare if they have the same kind of genetic code with the fundamental or the first one, initial genetic material sample.
Okay.
The thing is that the way the Chinese people did it, that they took some bronchoalveolar or some fluid from lungs and other samples from different other parts of the brain, of the body. They took the genetic material and took from that sample. They sequenced this genetic material and then developed rapidly the PCR detection diagnosis tool. But before they didn't purify the virus. They didn't isolate the virus from all that genetic material.
Gotcha.
Before they took the sample of the genetic material, which means in that sample of the lung fluid, there could have been many other things having genetic material, like actual lung cells, like bacteria, because we have bacteria all in our bodies, and not necessarily causing disease, but we have bacteria. It could have been other viruses, because there are viruses. We have viruses everywhere.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
There are many other things that could have given that piece of material, that piece of sequence, which was not even big enough to be reliable. So this is the protocol that they use. Oh, that was compared with a protocol that Chinese people were doing at the same time, taking this kind of tissue or material from the lungs to compare with people or patients that were having lung cancer. They were using exactly the same test for detecting lung cancer, by the way. So it's what this PCR does is select a genetic sequence and amplify it enormously. So when you take a few like kind of this tiny piece found in a sample, they will amplify by changing temperatures, high, low, adding an enzyme, and what it will do is that that will amplify and multiply the number of copies of the same sequence, having even millions, like a billion copies of the sequence, or no, a million copies of the sequence.
So basically, you're fermenting.
Yes, something like that. It could be something like that. Yeah. Because what they do is that separate the DNA strands into two And well, it's a long story. I think I will not go into the onto the details because I'm just starting to
you're just introducing
master this information.
Yeah.
But what I can say is that if there is a contamination, if there is a flaw in the first sample, or a flaw in the tests, in the testing in hospital or whatever,
right.
tiny flaw will amplify also the error.
Right. Huh.
So now going into what exosomes are. These are vesicles. As you can see the pictures. You see the picture, the drawing, and you see the we can call them endosome also, endosome bodies.
So they're actually
multi-alveolar, multivesicular bodies, or
they're very similar to viruses.
Exactly. I mean, there's no difference in behavior because they transmit genetic information with each other.
Right. Okay.
There is no difference in terms of the mechanism.
But they're a mechanism that basically cleans the cell.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or transmit genetic material to create certain processes such as cell multiplication.
Right. Okay.
So here you see endosomes, exosomes, and COVID-19, and we see them as endosomes, which means they are inside, and inside they have the same appearance.
Just to clarify, they clean the cell, but really their function is they transport genetic material wherever.
Let's say there are messengers, and these messengers could do cleaning the kitchen, getting things out, like, getting the garbage out.
Yep.
Or getting information to other cells.
Or bringing information, or bringing something in.
Yes, they are carriers. Exactly.
Okay. Transport.
And they open themselves. They stick to the cell as well with a kind of a lock key mechanism.
Like an enzyme.
And and they do exactly. The behavior is exactly the same as what we say is called by the viruses. You see, the measures, the dimensions are about the same. And there is the president of the Menhari Medical College, former president of Johns Hopkins HIV researcher. He says the virus is fully an exosome in any sense of the word. And what induces exosomes: toxic substances, stress, fear, cancer, ionizing radiation, infection, injury, immune response, asthma, diseases, and electromagnetic radiation. So that happens when we are stressed. The exosomes get out of the cells to communicate to each other to create an adaptation process. Could be more cell reproduction, or it could be just eliminations of toxins. So you can see them also. They are colored to identify them, but these are not called viruses. They are exosomes.
Okay.
What is the difference? There's no difference. So why current treatments work with hydrochloroquine? Because they releases lysosome and enzymes into the cell to digest toxins. The lysosomes are like the garbage, not bins, but like kind of the garbage bins of the cell. And There could be other processes.
Lysosomes, they're carburetors.
What?
Carburetors.
Yes.
Cell carburetors.
Yes.
Yeah.
By the way, the chloroquine has been used for malaria. And many people are saying also that MMS, which is kind of another how do you call that?
MMS or MS?
Yes, it's kind of it's not chlorine, it's
chlorine.
I think
chlorine sulfate or something.
Yes, I think it's sodium chlorine, chlorine.
Right.
Chloride.
Sodium chloride, yes.
And they both work the same way. What they do is they destroy toxins. They dismantle toxins. In the case of the malaria, did you know that malaria caused pneumonia symptoms as well?
Yeah, makes sense.
There are many other things that cause pneumonia symptoms, because pneumonia is just an elimination process.
Right.
But it's not determined what it's. I mean, if
pneumonia is
viruses. So any cause of pneumonia will bring us. We can help us find viruses. Let's say we have any, even if we respond to for example, even if antibiotics work to heal a pneumonia, and that makes people think, oh, that has to be a normal pneumonia. It doesn't mean that there are no viruses there. They don't do the tests. They just find correlation between viruses and the conditions, and they think that correlation means causation.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
So what I'm saying, it says here is that respiratory illness is caused by an insult, toxic or otherwise, which cause the production of exosomes, poison, stress, infection, electromagnetic radiation, and so on. And the RT-PCR tests are just host RNA sequences from exosomes. And so what they say is that COVID-19 is exosome, which doesn't mean it is not a virus, but it's also an exosome.
Is it the RNA that
the result, which are exosomes, are not because of the illness. Exosomes are the result, not the cause.
Okay. Is it the RNA in the exosomes that attaches to other things?
Yes, these things may be toxins in the case of like a situation like that, but the RNA is also used for communication between cells. Like as I said, when the first 4 cells of an embryo, when we are conceived, after the spermatozoid comes in contact with the ovule, they started to divide, and the first 4 cells, or maybe more, are not specialized. They are equal. But then they start to secrete exosomes, and that's part of that. I can show you a whole lecture on that subject. And those exosomes are important for those cells to reproduce and replicate and become more specialized, until some cells are brain cells and other cells are heart cells, and so on and so forth.
Wow.
And not only that, exosomes are being used now, are a new trend for therapy for many conditions.
So is it fair to say exosomes turn on certain aspects of the cell?
Yes,
to make it
they
special.
are part of the how do you call that, epigenetic process.
Okay.
Because epigenetics is not much about DNA, but about RNA.
Right. So exosomes are the RNA. It seems to me they're sensory in a way. They pick up aspects of the environment.
Yes.
And
well, it's also always in resonance with the whole nervous system, okay. Because as I mentioned, if we have stress, which comes from our nervous system, we can trigger these reactions or these projections of exosomes. And the stress is not in the environment, but in our inner environment.
Okay, it's a little bit of a disconnect for me, because you said that exosomes or viruses are not alive.
Yes, are not alive. They are tools.
So like, they don't have a sense.
No.
So what triggers them to come into existence?
Like you see, for example, mitochondria.
Yeah.
They are part of life, and they are living beings.
Oh, they are. Okay.
And they are not only and they are organelles, and they have functions, but they are living beings because they have metabolism. But there are other things that don't have metabolism. The reason why they are not living things is because they are moved.
They are what?
Moved by the cells. They are moved in the fluids. They are moved. They flow in the fluids, in the tissues, and everywhere in the body. And by the way, they are specialized, so we don't see these kind of exosomes or these kind of viruses in the lung. We don't find them in the liver. And the viruses or exosomes that belong to the liver, you don't find them in the lungs.
Oh, I see. Okay, right. So they're highly specialized tools.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
There may be, I just suppose that there may be exceptions, and some exosomes may be flowing the bloodstream to have a whole communication, but with the rest of the body. But anyways, that function is already done by the neurotransmitters and also the immune cells. But I do believe that one of the things that I want to point out is that the immune system is not there to defend us from viruses. That's a myth. Well, that's a subject for a long conversation. Mm-hmm. But when we think viruses are bad, but exosomes are good, but they have the same behavior.
Right.
They have the same behavior. Is that we tend to believe that viruses come from outside. And there may be, how do you call that? Viruses come from outside. That is called, there's a word for that, I don't remember. But we do create our own viruses. And by the way, the German New Medicine, or New German Medicine, conceived by Reich Hammer, he already discovered that we make our own viruses when we need them to resolve biological conflicts as part of the healing processes of things such as cancer or atrophies or things like that, or degenerative diseases.
Interesting.
So many things like in the air, but I still cannot have time enough to explain in detail why I'm saying these things.
Well, it makes sense that there's going to be external exosomes, I suppose, or viruses,
Maybe
because we're not separate. We're not separate from, I mean.
But yes, but I have to add one thing. They don't move. They don't get born. They don't reproduce themselves.
They don't
breathe. They don't have metabolism. They don't use energy. They don't grow. They don't die. They are just destroyed. They are nothing. They don't have movement. So they are moved. They are reproduced. And what many people do, including scientists, they treat them as living beings and they attribute them with things that only a living being would do, such as hiding, attacking, destroying, and so on and so forth. Instead of saying these things are part of processes that happen in the cells or in the body, but they are part of the processes, but they are not, they don't have intentions. Like say,
they don't have what?
Intentions.
Right.
Let's give you an example. Let's have an example. I have these balls and I juggle with them, but I don't say they juggle in my hands.
Yeah.
If I have a strawberry, I don't have it here. I had it close, but anyways, if a strawberry, and I find it delicious and I eat it, should I say that the strawberry is attacking my body by seducing me?
Yeah.
So it can be digested. So the piece of the strawberry goes all around my body, and I will shit that the little seeds, and they will reproduce themselves, and they will make new plants.
Yeah.
It's all part of nature, but I don't think strawberries have intentions.
No.
I think nature has an intention for the strawberries, but they don't have an intention.
I find that really interesting.
I can make more balls.
Sure.
I made them, so I can make more balls, but they don't make themselves.
Right. But our body makes exosomes.
Exactly. As
and
our body makes many things, hormones, neurotransmitters.
In fact, what you're suggesting is that my body produced the virus.
Yes, totally.
Okay. Here's another question, though.
When you need it for some reason, including detoxification.
Okay, let me ask this. It seems to be a theory that that this virus came from China, came from another organism. Is a virus created by another organism possibly pathogenic to you and I?
I don't discard completely the possibility that if they did some genetic manipulation, they could create something that didn't exist before. But bats were not getting sick from that. Could be a whole thing, could be also propaganda to make us be more afraid. Because I would be more afraid of that than just being infected by a virus from an animal, which is not happening in nature. It never happens in nature.
What do you mean it doesn't happen? You mean it doesn't create itself?
No, we don't get viruses from cows or sheep or dogs or cats. They are specific to the species. To the species and the tissues, as I said.
We don't get viruses from other organisms. That's counter to what
has changed up for a few, since the last, since they said that porcine, or what do you call that? The H1N1 or stuff like that. They may be changing the rules or trying to change the rules. But my belief so far is that there is something toxic in the air, in the food, in the drugs, in something. Nobody has taken the time to see if there is something new in the market, a new junk food, or something imported from China, or something in tofu, or maybe even the 5G.
Yeah. Well, that seems to be a recurring. The 5G thing seems to be a recurring theme.
Yeah, I tend to find it could be likely, because even in Montreal we have 200. Oh, we already have 200 antennas. Yeah. And with all this propaganda, we don't know how many of the people who seem to be sick of that, because many of these people are not sick of the same thing. How many of them come from other places where there is no 5G yet? I don't know. I cannot have all the answers. This is too confusing and too long, and I don't have the resources to have all the proofs. If I found people in New York that could do things like, calculate how many people are exposed to these 5G, why in New York people are dying much more than here. It seems to be the case. I mean, I know that here they were saying, oh, hospitals are full, but it's not true. Yes, I say it's not true.
What did you say?
Two of the people of the four people I talked with about the hospitals, two of them were working the hospitals. Two of them were saying, yeah, things are getting worse. But by the way, I think I will give you some other new things that will support my perspective. For example, we know that there is a vaccine that is called the polio vaccine that is supposed to prevent a virus disease, because there is a polio virus.
A what?
Polio. The polio.
Polio. Yes, yes.
And that, of course, that's in order to think that way, we have to believe that there is a virus causing the polio, that the polio was caused by a virus. But there is another perspective, that the polio was caused at that time by pesticides containing arsenic and lead, besides the DDT.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have the time right now because I was not prepared, and that's why it's such a long time of preparation, and I'm working on that. But I'm glad I'm getting out of the comfort zone at this moment, so I can start planning. No, not
sure.
I already started, but I will, maybe it will help me plan better. But the thing is, there are many documents and websites and things that support the idea that these people who were getting sick in places where there were, especially in certain states of the USA or certain places in other countries, where people started to experiment with these pesticides, which were banned afterwards. These pesticides were banned,
Yeah.
including DDT, but also especially those with arsenic and lead. But just imagine, arsenic and lead, they are unarguably, how do you call that, neurotoxins. And it is unarguably also that these toxins cause the paralysis, the conditions that we are being told were caused by the polio virus.
I like the connection with epigenetics. What you're suggesting to me is a counter argument about against nature as enemy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You really thank you for saying that, because the thing is, what we think, what we do, what we eat, and how we feel, and everything else, that we have the power on these things,
yeah,
are the real causes of health or disease,
yeah,
or death.
yeah.
And this thinking about of this germ theory is disempowering. And not only disempowering, but it makes you be in fear,
yeah,
which is opposite of health.
Yeah.
Fear, separation instead of connection. We all know connection is good for health.
Mhm.
Hugging is good for health. Kissing is good for health. We all know it. Even conventional medicines or scientists say that is good for the immune system. Even if for me, the immune system is not a defense system. It's a coordination system it's a system that is intermicrobial system. Microbes are the things that are in our bodies.
Intermicrobial.
Good bacteria, or so-called bad bacteria, because good bacteria becomes bad bacteria depending on what we have in our bodies. Like in the case of, when we take too much sugar and we get candida, that is always in our bodies, but they get triggered by too much sugar or too bad food or whatever. But these things are already in our bodies. And we blame them. And we think we have to kill them and get rid of them instead of changing our habits and get rid of the toxins that are the reason for them to be there.
Yeah, makes sense. I interacted with some Christian guy on some Facebook post the other day, and he was basically advocating these arguments about nature as the enemy, and talking about it's natural for nature to be adversarial and competitive. And so he couches it as a war, and I was trying to make a couple of people were trying to make the argument that actually nature, it can be seen to be quite cooperative.
I believe that is all the time, not sometimes. Yeah. I believe that, for example, one of the things that I will talk about one of these days when this crazy stuff finished, is that the nervous system that was divided between the central nervous system and the autonomous nervous system, and that model was conceived 100 years ago, and that we were told that our autonomous nervous system has two branches, sympathetic and parasympathetic, and the sympathetic is kind of bad because it's how do you call that? Fight or flight.
Right.
and the other sympathetic nervous system is rest and digest.
Is what?
Rest and digest.
Right, rest and digest.
So
right.
if it's fight or flight, and there is no other option than fight or flight or rest and digest, what they are saying is all the things that we do in life besides rest and digest, or sleep, or regenerate, or heal, or whatever, all the things that we do is fight or flight, which is living in an adversarial world, fighting or flighting or fleeing. But what about playing and loving and enjoying and having fun? And what about the other side of the parasympathetic nervous system? Rest and digest. But what about painting? About hesitating? About being shy? About procrastination? So there are good things or bad things, or not good or bad. I will just change that.
Mm-hmm.
Appropriate things.
Sure.
Adaptive things. Adaptive behaviors.
Yeah.
Cases.
Right.
They are maladaptive when they are triggered by fear.
Yeah.
When you, by fear, act, what you do is not playing, it's not playful. When you have fear, your action is not playful, it is attacking or fleeing.
Or contracting.
Contracting or hiding, but then in that case, it would be also parasympathetic.
Okay.
And when you are having this inaction triggered on the parasympathetic nervous system, it could be good, like after the orgasm, or could be bad because you are dissociated, or somebody is dissociated to not to feel, like a woman who is being abused can go into disassociation.
Disassociation.
Mm-hmm. And that's by fear.
Just one sec.
Uh-huh.
You sort of said that hiding is like flight.
Yes, but immobile.
Right. Okay. Whereas flight is action.
Yes.
Fight is action.
Yes. Like
and the parasympathetic, to me, what you're suggesting is stopped. It's like
because in the case of parasympathetic is low blood pressure, lower heart rate, and less limb circulation, and so on and so forth. And the same thing, higher heart rate is sympathetic, so you can run faster, and so on and so forth.
I remember something about stress. Stress can be good or bad. No, I'm sorry. Stress, actually good stress and bad stress.
Yeah, I know that, but the good stress, what they call good stress, is playing.
Yes, but good stress, yeah. But getting married or something like that can actually be very stressful. There's lots of good things that can be very stressful, and apparently
the person you are getting married with.
Well, yeah, I know, maybe. The suggestion of this.
Of the party, which means you are triggered by fear of not pleasing the people.
Sure. That is but maybe that's what's going on. The suggestion of this was that peak moments of your life, good or bad, can result in stress that actually hurts you.
No. Okay. The reason that it may happen is when fear and lack of presence is there. I mean, if you're not present playing the ball game or whatever it is, because you are too afraid of losing the game, then it's about stress.
Right.
Because we call stress the context, like marriage, game, whatever it is, competition, job. But it's not job or marriage or whatever it is. It's the way you interpret it.
Right.
It's the way you experience with mindfulness or something else, or with fear.
Right. That
Stress
makes sense.
is, in reality, the different, the, how do you call that? Oscillation between attack, defend, react, not react, freeze, faint, all this confusion. You don't know what to do. Should I act? Should I not act? Should I speak? Should I not speak? I feel like speaking, but I don't because I'm afraid of the outcome.
Yeah.
I fear I'm afraid of relaxing because I may be blamed of doing I should do something else.
You're lazy.
All that is fear.
You're lazy, man.
Yes, I am. That's why I spend so much time in front of the computer.
Hey, it makes sense. Actually, all of this makes sense. Yeah, it's definitely clarifying some stuff, and it's actually very resonant. You know, with you know, I'm not as active at researching as you are, but I have thought about these things, and I do. It makes so much sense. It does resonate. It makes.
Yeah, well, I think the main reason is because it's been so many years since I have this perspective, and I wanted to have a kind of unified theory of health and well-being. And so everything I say is coherent with each other. There's no incoherence.
Coherence.
Everything I say is coherent with each other, with everything I say. I say something and it's coherent with something else.
Yeah.
But also, of course, it doesn't correspond to the normal way of thinking. Adversarial, fear-based,
Yes, yes.
Egocentric based, disempowering, and yeah, I think I don't know if I think that's all.
Sounds like a pretty good
limiting thinking or negative thinking.
Sure. Well, this is good for me, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It gives me a more positive outlook. I'm pretty isolated. I've been very, what's the word? Very self-isolating even before this. I've been very almost apathetic, doing a lot of cocooning since I got back from Peru. And a lot of second guessing too, just like you say, afraid to speak, sometimes afraid to share my perspective because, especially on Facebook, because there's so much self-righteousness,
especially when you're on the side of the good people,
and moralism, and a lot of people. I think a lot of people kind of persecuting people for not following the status quo. Yeah, especially in this situation.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because people are so triggered.
Now, I describe myself as play challenged. Because, it's, I sort of blame it on my upbringing because my dad was not very playful. There was a lot of guilt and shaming and stuff. So when I find myself in play situations, it brings up that stress you suggested. I can't play productively because I feel like I'm going to do something wrong, or I feel like, or I'm critical, of, oh, look at those guys, why am I critical? It's a defense mechanism that I carry with me that I've been programmed, in a sense.
I'd like you to get what I'm going to say is that it is not you, but your nervous system.
Yeah.
That is the conclusion I got a couple of months ago when I started to change my own nervous system and became more extroverted than I was. I'm more daring. I'm more outspoken.
Mm-hmm.
2 months ago, I was not that outspoken, and I was really hiding. And not that I'm really outspoken that much that I should be or I could be, but I'm doing more than before. Mm-hmm. Since I'm getting this mental clarity from healing my nervous system through the process I will won't explain, but you know about. That's something that I'm eager to find a platform to share with other people.
I've been practicing that a little bit, but I have little coughs coming out of, it looked like the Spanish flu.
Yeah, it was a big deal. But it doesn't mean that I'm so skeptic, because the thing is that once you focus something, you see it everywhere, like this kind of a tale about when you want to buy a red car, whatever brand, you are going to see it everywhere.
Yeah.
The same thing, we are looking for something and we find it. Sure. So when we are scared about these things, we are finding people getting sick, and we label already that is the same with the same cause. But in many countries, everywhere, people are getting sick from any other conditions. As I said, food, what do you call that? Poisoning and stuff like that. Or one of the things that I've heard was, for example, that in countries where they are using biodiesel, coming from corn that is GMO, which means that corn has glyphosate, Roundup, which is neurotoxic. So when they are burning that biofuel, they are sending glyphosate to the air, and people are getting sick. So
epigenetics again,
Yeah.
I mean, what are we doing to our planet? I mean,
we are poisoning ourselves, and
gotta have an impact. Yeah. Well,
we are trusting the news that they are going to tell us what to do.
Yes. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know why we're trusting these people. They have not proven to be trustworthy. And then the financial sort of, just where does all this money come from all of a sudden?
And the government. And we trust the government as well.
Crazy.
Well,
I found this very uplifting.
Thank you. That was my goal. I'm glad somebody feels that instead of feeling, triggered and mad and angry at me. Because they don't listen. That's why they are angry, because they don't.
Bastard, you're making me think. You're causing me to actually think critically and think actively. Oh, that's terrible.
That's terrible. Okay, so
thank you, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Good to talk to you. So anytime, I'll anytime you want help with this. Fish. Okay. Nanu, nanu.
No, exactly.
See you later.
See you later. Bye.
Have a great day. Talk to you soon, I hope.
Yes.